My name is Keira Knox, and welcome to my showcase for EUB343-2 Professional Experience, Informing Professional Practice. I attended the Monday 2 to 3 lecture, and my university partner for placement was Yvonne Rutch. This showcase will present my recent professional experience, explaining the impact I had on a group of students learning through learning intentions, teaching strategies, and provide evidence demonstrating my impact. For my recent professional experience, I attended a rural co-ed state school in the Darling Downs Southwest region. The school had a transfer rating of 3. It was a one principal teacher school with a full-time teacher aide. There were 3 other specialist teachers that would come 1 day a week. The school had a total of 11 students, ranging from prep to year 6, with the exclusion of year 3 as there were no year 3 students. As you can see on this slide, there were a total of 7 boys and 4 girls in the school. This table also shows how many students there were in each year level. One of the year 6 students is on an individual curriculum plan and worked at a year 4 level. Upon observations and discussions with my supervising teacher, I decided to select the 2 year 4 students and incorporated the year 6 student on an ICP to focus on for this assessment task. I selected these students as the supervising teacher and I believed that they would have the greatest to gain from focused, intentional, targeted teaching. For the remainder of this showcase, the 3 students will be referred to as student A, B, and C. Student A and B are the 2 year 4 students who are achieving just below year level standard, and student C is the year 6 student on an ICP achieving at year 6 level. The learning area that I focused on with these students was mathematics. The relevant content descriptors are from the Year 4 Maths curriculum, specifically the number and algebra strand, where students recall multiplication facts up to 10 times 10 and develop efficient mental and written strategies for multiplication where there is no remainder. The key learning intention was for students to develop strategies that assist them in solving multiplication problems and sentences. In discussions with these students, we also created another learning intention, which is for the students to develop confidence in answering multiplication facts quickly. At the beginning of the unit, students completed a diagnostic assessment, where I effectively gauged their prior knowledge. Diagnostic assessment was an essential component in my teaching, as it provided the students the opportunity to demonstrate what they know and can do. The diagnostic assessment was taken from Hawker Brunlow CAMS Plus Series D, as these resources were used frequently by the school and the student were familiar with. There were 15 questions which were broken up into 3 sections, surrounding multiplication properties, multiplication concepts, and fact families. Through discussions with my supervising teacher, we predicted that the students would have difficulty understanding question 2, due to being unfamiliar with the term commutative property of multiplication. On this slide, you can see students' responses for page 1 of the diagnostic assessment. Once students completed their diagnostic assessment, I then collected and analysed them to determine any misconceptions and areas for improvement. This slide shows the overall diagnostic assessment data for student A, B, and C. Upon analysis of this data, it was evident that I needed to focus on questions 2, 5, 15, 31, 34, and 35. These questions involved word sentences, finding missing quantities, fact families, and arrays. This diagnostic data informed an integral component of my instruction and teaching practice. Although these were the main focus questions, I incorporated revisions surrounding different mathematical concepts as students demonstrated multiple misconceptions. I was also evaluated that I should particularly focus on student C, as they had the lowest achievement. From the diagnostic data, I planned several learning experiences which incorporated hands-on learning, visualization strategies, and the gradual release of responsibility model, which embedded formative feedback strategies. Formative feedback was provided to students through discussions, annotations of their work throughout the unit to progress their learning. Through the formative feedback strategies, I gathered after the first learning experience that student B and student C did not understand the concept of arrays. It was evident student C didn't grasp the representation of arrays and how the numbers in an equation correlate to the columns and rows in the array. Upon analysing student C's worksheet, I decided to alter my teaching method for the following learning experiences to ensure student C could comprehend this concept. It was then evident that after I had adjusted my strategies, student C eventually grasped this concept. Due to this, for each learning experience, I decided to use different teaching strategies, for example, explicit teaching, peer teaching, individual work, hands-on learning, and engaging activities, as each student benefited from the different strategies and experiences. Another form of formative feedback I used was the implementation of speed tests, which were completed every Tuesday. This provided students the ability to view whether they had improved and for teachers to monitor students' learning. Through implementing formative assessment, students are able to reflect on their learning process and effectively use feedback. During my professional experience, I noted that student A, student B, and student C gained confidence, knowledge, understanding, and skills surrounding the maths concept of multiplication properties, multiplication concept, and fact families. The purpose of summative assessment is to produce a product which provides feedback to teachers surrounding the effectiveness of their learning, record their achievement of students, and provide advice on future teaching. Students completed a summative task obtained from Hawker-Bronlow CAMS plus Series D. This task assessed the same concepts as the diagnostic assessment and had very similar questions which allowed me to see each student's progression. Student A results increased from 12 out of 15 to 14 out of 15. Student B drastically improved from 8 out of 15 in the diagnostic to 13 out of 15 in the summative. And student C had the greatest improvement as they increased from 6 out of 15 to 12 out of 15. These students showed great development throughout my placement and have established strategies that will assist them in their future learning. One of these strategies was taking time to read questions properly before answering. This strategy has been reflected in the summative assessment as student A answered their 3 incorrect diagnostic questions correctly. Student B also correctly answered their 6 incorrect diagnostic questions, and student C answered their 7 incorrect diagnostic questions correctly. At the end of this unit of work, students completed a final speed test to ensure they had the opportunity to reflect on their learning and determine their progress. Upon analysis of the final speed test, all students' results had drastically improved. Student A got 29 out of 50 with 2 errors in the diagnostic, compared to 47 out of 50 with no errors in the final test. Student B achieved 46 out of 50 with 4 errors on the final test, compared to 18 out of 50 with 6 errors in the diagnostic. Lastly, student C attained 33 out of 50 with 9 errors on the diagnostic, whereas on the final test they got 36 out of 50 with 5 errors. This data illustrates that not only did the students answer more number of facts correctly, but they also decreased their error rates. These results, along with the summative assessment results, demonstrate how through explicit teaching, incorporating hands-on, visualization, and gradual release of responsibility strategies, I've made an impact on student A, B, and C's learning. Here are the final speed tests for student A, student B, and student C. Upon reflection of my recent placement, I have noted some areas I can improve on for my future professional experience. In particular, incorporating the use of digital technologies to engage students in learning. These technologies include Kahoot and online quizzes, which would allow me to gauge students' individual knowledge and understanding surrounding the mathematical concepts. Through embedding digital technologies into primary classroom, it bridges forms of knowledge and learning is benefited. I've also noted that I need to increase my incorporation of discussions with students surrounding their learning. In the last week of placement, I had a discussion with student A and student C, which allowed these students to share with me how they were feeling surrounding their learning. Not only did I gain a better insight into students' knowledge, but students also benefited from these discussions. They enabled me to gain a greater insight of students' understanding, knowledge, and confidence around the skills being learnt. In my future placement, I would engage in these discussions from the beginning to not only understand how students feel, but simultaneously build long-lasting relationships. Thank you for listening to this showcase.